Our speaker is David Fulton. He is the founder, a project manager, and product leader. He's the founder of a company called Fulfills.me. He's going to talk about stand out, align, and get hired, making the most of today's evolving job market. Boy, that's the truth. He is a project manager, program leader, and product owner with over 15 years experience delivering complex health and human services initiatives and modernizing critical public sector systems. He's led multi-million-dollar procurements, rescued delayed programs, and built data-driven tools that improve outcomes and compliance. As founder of Fulfills.me, he applies that same structure and clarity to hiring, helping teams define roles precisely and helping job seekers align authentically. He holds a master's degree in Health Informatics and certifications, including PMP, so he's a professional project manager. He's a CSPO, which is a Scrum product owner, and a certified Scrum Master as well. And he also has a Lean Six Sigma Green Belt. So let's give a very warm welcome to David Fulton.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me today. It's a pleasure meeting all of you. Can you hear me okay, Kathy?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Okay. All right. So I really appreciate the opportunity to come and speak today because I have encountered long-term unemployment on more than one instance in my career, and I know how devastating that is from the recruiters I speak to on a fairly regular basis. I understand that we're in a very unusual market right now. Like everything, there's supply and demand, and it cycles and moves around. And right now, most of the recruiters I've spoken to who have been doing this for a long time say that this is one of the, I'm going to say, squirreliest markets. That's probably not the proper technical term for it, but as you all, I'm sure, are aware, there's just a lot of churn, a lot of stuff right now, a lot more. I had a recruiter tell me the other day, matter of fact, I was just they have got, how would I say this? They are the recruiter that has hired me into the position that I'm going to be taking starting here very soon. And I was talking to the CEO there, and he said that right now, at one point in time, or more than one point in time, there are frequently a few really good candidates, and really their job is to find the best fit for a position. These days, one of the challenges they're encountering is there's 10 really great fits for a position. So it's not like filtering out there's a lot more very capable talent, at least in the areas where I'm looking, and I suspect that's the case elsewhere. Well, so anyway, a few years back when I hit a long-term employment, because I like to problem solve, I started looking at, well, what is the root cause of this? What is the actual behind it? Instead of just griping about it, I see lots of griping with both really candidates who are looking for positions, very great candidates, and also recruiters. It's like nobody is happy with the situation right now because it's putting a lot of people under a lot of stress. And so what do we do to get by that? So I started looking at the root cause analysis and understanding this. This is back in 2017. So over the last several years, one of the things I did was I decided to understand better the process of recruiting. I really had never thought about it that much, but it was kind of my way of coping with the sanity or insanity of it all. And so I started to talk with recruiters and understand that process. And in the process of that is how I came to came to where I am with Fulfills Me at this point in time. And I'll talk more about that later. Anyway, here's one of the things I want you to think about today. Think of yourself as a talent, as a capital expense. I don't know if you know what I mean by capital expense, but if you were to take, say, a organization and they were thinking about putting in a new piece of equipment or a new structure or something like that, if you think about what it costs to bring a person into a company, and God help you if you buy the wrong thing, um, would you actually buy it like you were buying a loaf of bread or something? Probably not. Most positions will run anywhere from I'll say a very low side of $50,000 a year to on up to hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, just depending upon the role or position. So this is a very important decision for many organizations. And then multiple positions. I know one person right now is looking to hire or to screen and find 100 different financial planners across the United States. So just you can do the math on that. I mean, we're talking millions of dollars here, and with mistakes and all that, it becomes very important. So if you can think of yourself more as a capital expense, then hey, I'm looking for a job. I think that might help you to have some perspective on it from the organization's point of view and the recruiter's point of view, who are often paid as a percentage of that to find people. Um, you don't buy a machine on a hunch. You go through the process of determining the specifications, the ROI, and all of that. Well, one of the problems that we're addressing that I identified is that a lot of organizations really don't give it the due diligence that they should to understand what the requirements are. They think in the same way that I think a lot of us do who are talent think in terms of, well, we're filling a position. Well, no, you're making a capital expense. Would you really launch a project, a $500,000 project or whatever, and not have requirements and all that? And again, I can go into that more if you want me to, but all of this is what motivated me to work toward fulfills.me. And then off of that is a component of that is our talent MLS. And again, we'll talk more about that. So anyway, I'm going to, these are the topics we're going to go through. I see no reason to sit here and read through them and force you to hear the titles and all that twice, but this is at the top of the slide deck that I think will be being shared, or the video. So let's just launch into it here. So um, one of the things I'd like you to start doing is, and Kathy, I just want to do a sanity check here. You are seeing my slide think recipe, correct?
Yes.
Okay, just a little bit of a spot check. These platforms can be a little odd sometimes. So I'd like everybody to stop starting with job titles and keywords. I know it's in the applicant tracking systems, it's in all of these things, it's in all the engines out there that will search for all these things, but I want you in the back of your mind to start thinking of yourself as ingredients, the proof of what you already have. Instead of you're not a resume, you're not a LinkedIn profile. Be the persona that's needed. That's an important distinction. I saw an article not that long ago where somebody was complaining that they had gone through all of the job opportunities out there. They had applied to everything out there in their particular expertise. It's like I'm looking at that going, wow, that would be a very painful position to be in. But really, what I'm thinking is this person is inflexible in who and what they are. They don't see themselves as a palette with thousands and thousands of colors to paint any number of pictures, etc. They see themselves as one landscape or one color palette. It's like, no, you're not. Your ingredients are your proof. Uh, Great candidates don't promise, they prove. So I want you to start thinking in terms of being ingredients, skills that you've used, measurable outcomes you've achieved, the context that is so important, the context where it happened. What was the team size? What were the constraints? What was the industry? Are there any artifacts from this? Anything that you can point to as evidence of what was achieved? Links, decks, repos, dashboard, SOPs, any of that. And then what is so important with this, I think even more important than the skills, because, hey, I could say that I was in a position where I used a computer, whatever, I'll make up something, a computer for 10 years. Well, okay, what did you do on that computer? What did you use that software for? You could say, I've used Excel for 10 years. Well, did you use it for pivot tables? Were you a data scientist? Were you doing data analysis? Were you doing accounting? What were you doing? So your techniques. how you cook, your approach. How many different restaurants have you seen out there? How many different ways are there to make a hamburger? Well, you go, well, I don't know. There's only so many ingredients. Bingo. So that same hamburger, if you repurpose those ingredients, becomes a meatloaf. It becomes a taco. It becomes pasta. It becomes lasagna. It becomes any number of things. I guess I'm on an Italian kick this morning, but anyway, the point is those ingredients are all the same if you think about it for the most part, and that's the way we are too. So, what kind of a recipe are you in this particular context? What have you been, and what can you be? So, these are your repeatable ways of solving problems. That's what people want to know about. How are you a solution? So it's frameworks, it's playbooks, it's sequences. Name them simply, 5-step lunch cutover, 90-day hiring cleanup. Your recipes or your role narratives. Bundle the ingredients and techniques into a few clean recipes aimed at different buyers. You walk into a restaurant, you don't find an endless menu. You find a menu with certain great ones that they figured out. These are what people are buying. Each recipe, short role narrative, who it helps, the pain it solves, the proof it uses, and then open the menu, your job descriptions. Every JD, it's just what's being ordered. You don't rewrite yourself for every order. You pick the right recipe and plate it cleanly. 3 bullets that mirror the JD's top needs. When I say JD, that's job description. One link to a result or satisfied customer. That's huge. How many of you have actually got out on your LinkedIn profiles actual creditable endorsements from people who you've worked with? Every job I go into within the period of time where I feel like I proved myself, maybe a few months, etc., I start asking those who I feel are worth notable to do an endorsement for me out on LinkedIn. So every job, it's not me just saying, "Hey, David was a project manager." It's that no, David accomplished this. I can point to those as point of fact. This person I worked with, this person I worked for, this, etc., produced results. And that creates a body of evidence out on my LinkedIn. Does anybody look at them? I don't know. It's all part of the marketing package of who you are. But if you don't do it, you'll wish you had. I mean, I know I did. That's why I started doing this exercise in keeping myself relevant and undeniable in terms of what I can actually deliver and have delivered evidence. So, you know, if the order of your recipes changes, if somebody's looking for something different, like the lady I spoke about earlier who said I've applied to everything in my expertise, do a substitution. Pick a vector, find a vector, same ingredients, adjacent role. In my case, I'm a project manager. I'm also a program manager. I'm also a product owner. I'm also a product leader, project leader. I can do business analysis. I can do the position I've been hired for up into New York right now to help them with their health exchange, eligibility enrollment, modernization. I'm the RFP writer for that. Am I going to do more? Of course, I'm going to do more, but I'm part of the 10-person core team that this company's hired to write this RFP because over in Maryland, I wrote the RFP for their EBT SNAP program. That one I was brought into as a project manager, not as the RFP writer. But when they couldn't find a subject matter expert to do it, guess what? I became the RFP writer. I picked up a lot of procurement knowledge and skills, and that's transferable. So that's what I mean by being open to your ingredients. It's the same thing. Can I be a technical writer, et cetera, et cetera? Yeah, that's all my situation. What is yours? What are your ingredients? So stop contorting your resume to every posting. Productize your proof. Think of yourselves again as a capital expense, ingredients, techniques, recipes. Then match your recipes to the demand. What is the demand? Are you studying the demand? Are you looking out? Are you just applying to job descriptions out there in Indeed or LinkedIn or whatever? Or are you actually looking at and analyzing the demand and thinking about it in terms of strategy? Think presentation of the dish being served. How are you? Are you just shooting things off into ATSs and stuff and being filtered out? I saw 2,700 in 3 days were submitted to a program manager position, and I just had to chuckle because uh, that's so ridiculous on the part of the organization that posted that job notice that they've cost themselves thousands of dollars in work that they didn't need to unless they're just fishing. In which case, for you as a candidate, I would look at some of those things and say, hey, I see a red flag here. I mean, it might even be worth picking up the phone and calling or reaching out to the LinkedIn person who's the person in charge of the hiring and say, do you really know what you're looking for? I mean, I wouldn't say it in that way, but you don't have to call an ugly baby ugly. You know, you can certainly use a little more tact and say, oh, hey, I was noticing that you might have a little bit of a challenge here. How can I help? So titles are labels. Proof is portable. Build your menu first. Serve it wherever the orders are. So, uh, your resume isn't a contract. It's a marketing brochure. Don't lie, position the product. I would imagine there are those here who have seen some of the pharmaceutical commercials on television. I don't know if anybody else ever encounters these. I try to skip through them as much as possible, but they show the happy little families, they show all these things. I'm amazed sometimes at what the pitch is in different commercials out there. It's not, well, we have really wonderful food or this, that, and the other. It's no, we've brought back in the barbecue something or other hamburger. They're not. It's think in terms of marketing, not in terms of a resume. A resume is not a contract. Think like a marketer. Simple promise, named outcomes, quick proof, repeat consistently. Win the top third above the fold, the exact role title they're hiring for. Understand what they're looking for. They might not even understand what they're looking for, but your first part of whatever you send them, whether it's a resume, a marketing slick, or a one page or whatever, make sure it hits them right between the eyes. And these days with AI, you have absolutely no reason that you cannot position your message appropriately. If you're not using AI at this point in time to position your messages stuff, it doesn't cost you anything. GPT-5, et cetera, there's free use of these and many others. If you're not using these tools, then I'm sorry, you've become a Luddite and you're already obsolete. You need to move on, get going with it. It's like using an electric typewriter versus a word processor at this day and age. Okay. Use it, use it, use it. It's one of these things that's going to help you position, and don't believe everything it tells you. You still have to have a brain as a human being to take and discern it and filter it and apply it. But use that tool. If nothing else, it'll help you get past the white page. So I don't know, three proof bullets. The number you moved, how you moved it, a micro sample. Think of your deck or your dashboard. Earn the conversation. Treat it like a media kit. Here's the kit. Tell me a priority so I can show something useful. Back when I was selling advertising, I don't know if you remember the Good Life magazine in Austin. I was in Austin for about 15 years or more. I worked with the Good Life magazine and I was able to double their revenue. But part of that is I would walk into a client. The first thing, if you've ever sold print advertising, they'll say, do you have a media kit? Well, what they're saying is, I don't want you. I don't have time to deal with you. Get out of my face. So the first thing I had was a media kit. It's like, yeah, absolutely. Here's our media kit. Now let's talk about your business. Because that media kit was just going to get thrown in a drawer anyway. Your resume is probably, in a lot of cases, going to get thrown in a proverbial drawer. Now, it'll be filtered through an ATS. It'll filter you out. It'll do all kinds of things like that for you and against you. But at the end of the day, they're not going to hire you based on that resume unless you're doing government contract work, in which case then you have skill matrices and things like that, and they're trying to fill certain aspects, and that's a whole different discussion. So move on from the concept of your resume getting you the position, but you must have it. So it's absolutely essential and totally needless, all at the same time. So think of your resume as a marketing kit. Something you must have, and make sure that the first third of it, the above the fold, absolutely conveys your power. You'll notice on my resume, right or wrong, I'm just like you. I'm a fisher person out here fishing for fish. In the top of mine, I use a summary, and that summary doesn't say, hey, he's a fantastic communicator who's led projects and blah, blah, blah. No, it's compelling. I trust, I hope it is, I've worked at it, to actually give very specific criteria. Again, I use AI to refine it that absolutely directs myself at their need, unless, of course, I'm just sending stuff out to get into databases, which is a whole different strategy, but again, beyond the scope of this a little bit. So understand what your purpose is with your resume, understand exactly where you're using it and how. The structure of the rest of your resume, make sure, well, first of all, make sure that top part above the fold can be scanned in 10 seconds or less. Because again, if you've got 2,700 resumes in, you're spending less than 4 minutes on a resume if you get that far. And they better understand how you connect up in that first part of it, because that's all they're going to look at. And maybe maybe your last position. I don't know how many recruiters contact me for positions in Austin still. I have about 20 for a job opening that just came out not that long ago. I'm living in Pennsylvania these days, people. Hello. So, and I don't even know I'm old data in some of their databases. And so I try to find some of these things and fix them. So just recognize that, that's the chaos that's out there right now. The rest of your resume, think of it in terms of CAR, challenge, action, result. I don't care that you know how to use PowerPoint or whatever. What I care is that you've done things like this. Did you use PowerPoint in a presentation to certain, and how common, if this role is relevant to needing those skills? Keep the message clean, clear, simple, consistent, compelling. Win the top third to get the call. Keep it tight so that your challenge action result is by category. And then the resume, again, I just want to focus on permission slip. It's your proof, and your questions will close that distance or that sale. So 80-20 idea. A few small moves create most of your traction. I'm a firm believer in, as you're doing things throughout the day, and trust me, I failed considerably, asking myself, is this the 20% that's going to deal and going to produce the 80% results I'm looking for? I guarantee you, from working at data and actually advancing electronic prescribed controlled substance in Texas from 2% to 20% in under 2 years, ranking Texas as seventh in the nation. Notice how I just plugged myself. That it was actually based a lot on that Pareto principle of 80-20 rule. So there's 20% of the prescribers of that were actually doing 80% of it. Did I target on the 80% that were doing 20%? Heck no. I didn't get results by focusing on those that I wasn't trying to boil the ocean. I was just trying to get to the pond where all the fish were living. So understand where those things are. You know, um, tight headlines, exact role, specific outcome, um, you know, product manager, reduces churn with data-driven launches, be consistent in your social media and marketing collateral, three proof bullets, the number you moved, how you moved it, tiny artifact linked, such as cut onboarding time 38%, mapped bottlenecks, rebuilt flow, demo. Again, think back to what I did just a few minutes ago with EPCS. I just helped hopefully frame that in a way that you understood some of the value I bring. Did I tell you how I did it? No, I'm not going to do that at this moment in time. But I want you to see I rocked the world in that instance as a storyteller. One person, one line, one small ask. Hi, Maya, John. I work together. 90-second proof link. Open to a 15-minute intro. Useful comment. Add one insight, one takeaway, uh, two activation wins I used. Just all these things. So we'll talk more about that here in just a second. You know, uh, Trade your busy work for momentum. Momentum turns opportunities into offer. So I hear a lot of complaining about recruiters. Absolutely. They are absolutely swamped. They don't know, and not anytime you categorize, it's like all animals are this or all whatever are that. Uh, they run across the board. You have some that are just starting out, that some of them are in India, some of them can barely speak English, some of them are been doing this for 50 years and they know the market inside and out. Many of them have certain specialized area. Think of them as real estate agents. Do they know about the houses in your neighborhood, metaphorically speaking? Understand your recruiters. Who's important to you? Are you talking to them? Are you looking at who the temp agencies are? Are you actually drilling into what's happening, or are you just applying to jobs? Do you know who your team is? And believe me, the recruiter can very well be part of your team. They certainly are a partner. Um, so they're not enemies. It's often win when you win. They're not going to make any money unless they fill somebody into a position. Um, Target recruiters who work in your industry and at your level. They already speak to the teams you want. They've already got this dialogue set up. Instead of trying to go in and reinvent the wheel, work with them. It saves everyone time. And they're not a silver bullet. They're not the only way you're approaching this. But it's always nice when somebody brings something to the table. If you're trying to sell your car and somebody knows where there are buyers, that's huge. Um, Sending them 3 proof points, one simple link, artifact, letting them know where your value is. Let them know the exact roles you fit. Don't just apply to everything. That just demeans your capability, and you're putting energy into wasted time and effort. Okay, understand where you fit and why, and what your best jobs are. If you're a football player, I wouldn't be trying to go out and sell myself as somebody who's skilled at badminton. Be who you are. Understand your vectors. Where are your vectors? Maybe you're a football player. I'm just using a sports metaphor because that's what popped into my head. But maybe you also can cross play into other things. There are some athletes who are extremely versatile in playing multiple things. That means they've got more value. Be a pro. Reply quickly. I don't know how often. I mean, it must be frustrating to recruiters. If I was selling something, it would really annoy me if I couldn't close deals and understand if you are or aren't my product. If you get a contact from a recruiter and they haven't heard from you, even if it's to tell them, no, I'm not the right person for this. I'm not the best fit for this. That's important because you're a pro at that. You're a professional. You're not saying, hey, look, yes, I'll take this because I'll take anything. You're saying, no, I really do not know how to effectively use pivot tables to rock the world of this organization. No, I really don't. That's not my expertise. But my expertise is this. Oh, and by the way, here's a copy of my resume so that you understand just where I fit. Those people who sent me contacts about being in Austin, no, I can't apply for these positions in Austin because they're either on site or the state government there still does not allow out of state contractors. But by the way, here's who and what I am that brings value. So, align your incentives, treat them like allies with shared outcomes, show proof, keep it simple, let them tell your story fast. Your job, if you're trying to sell your house, is to help that real estate agent sell your house. Your job as somebody who's selling your professional knowledge and skills is to empower that individual as part of your outreach and effort to effectively market you. And don't expect that they're going to sell you if you have a junky, rundown place. I don't know if anybody's ever looked for a house and seen pictures of rooms full of clutter and all kinds of garbage and things like that. Are you really going to be compelled as a buyer to think about those houses? Probably not. I was on a networking thing in Alignable, and if you don't know what Alignable is, you need to check that out as well because it's a new, powerful network. Well, I say new, it's not new, but it's a growing. They're up to 10 million participants now. It's sort of an offshoot of LinkedIn. But I was on a networking call with a gentleman. And in the background, he's positioning himself as a solution for computer technology, IT desk, etc. And in the background, this place is chaos. Everywhere behind him in this image, I see stuff stacked here, laid there. It's like, am I going to hire him? I don't know. I mean, he might be God's gift to doing it, but from the image he's presenting, it's not telling me that. Think about these things. If you were the buyer, would you buy you? So proof plus clarity plus speed. You know, these recruiters will get you introductions you won't get alone. Um, Let me see. So winning starts with where you hunt. Own the pond that already values what you do well. Pick the right water. Go where your strengths are already valued. The industry, the stage, the stack, the problem, the set. If the pond is quiet, move. If you've never gone fishing, it's silly to sit here and throw your line in the water if you're not getting any bites. Think like the fish, the hiring team. What do they care about today? And I'm going to emphasize that underscore today. use their words and name their outcome. Fewer tickets, faster delivery, clean launch, lower churn. Read the job descriptions. You're reading those job descriptions. This is a pet peeve, and this is one of the things that sort of drove me as well, what fulfills me and our efforts to create a gold standard for as part of what we're doing in terms of the responsibilities and requirements and clear roles. I don't know how many will I'll read a job description and thousands of words into this thing that's told me everything about the company and all this stuff and all this vague boilerplate information. And down at the bottom, it'll say must speak um, some language or something like that. Why didn't you put this at the top? I don't speak this language. Why did you waste all my time? We prefer this is magic words for, hey, you're not going to get hired for this unless you have this anyway, particularly in this market. Are you going to turn that? Well, yeah, there's the possibility, but what are your odds? 80-20 rule. Do you really think, are you going to stand a better chance of selling somebody on your house if they're looking for a two-car garage and all you have is street parking? Do you really think you're going to get them to? Maybe if you got an ultimate, really incredible house, you might get them to look at it, think about it. Who knows? Maybe you'll get the sale, but are you just as smart to move on and find somebody who's looking for what you have versus what you don't have? So then use that as your benchmark. Lead with proof, not claims. Offer one useful bite they can use now. Quick insight, before after metric you moved, or a simple work sample. Keep the ask small. Can we do a 10-minute sanity check for fit? Get them to talk with you, then measure like a pro. What's your time to the first conversation? Is this going on and on? Move on. Your time is worth money, whether you're working or not. Percent of the roles with 70 or 80% fit. That should be rising. Share of week on high probability ops should be rising. Don't spend your time where you're losing ground. If you're not selling, if you're pushing, a lot of it within the world of founders, they talk about nice to have or need to have, and and pushing and pulling. If you're pushing somebody to buy your house, I'm going to stick with my metaphor of houses here. If you're pushing to sell your house, then something's wrong. If you have people showing up right and left and they want to buy your place, and again, I'm speaking metaphorically in terms of your talent and your ability and your accomplishments, which is so critical, then you've got pull. Hey, that's where you want to be. Are you getting 20 notices from different recruiters who are all recognizing where your expertise is? Okay, you've accomplished something. At least part of the churn out there knows who and what you are and what your brand is. That's good stuff. That's feedback. So understanding that. So pick the right water, speak the fish's language, show real proof, and keep moving until your rod bends. Think Wolf of Wall Street, not sleazy, just mercenary focus. You're selling a product. You, not chasing a title. Stop chasing job titles. You are selling you as a product. Titles are shelves. Problems are markets. Drop the identity story. Answer, which pain do you remove? Under what constraints? How fast can you prove it? Define the offer. Lead with outcomes, not adjectives. Package, problem, constraint, time frame, proof, tiny, artifacts, links. Price your time like a pro. Qualify fast. If the buyer can't name outcome, decision path, or near-term timeline, thank them. Leave a one-pager, i.e. your resume or something like that. Move on. They don't know what they want anyway. You're just going to spend weeks, months trying to help teach them what the heck they want to do anyway. And it's not worth your time. They're not going to, you're wasting your time. Run two lanes, broadcast to surface possibilities. Sure, I send my resume out. I send my resume out on a regular basis to lots of places that I think are ahead. I don't expect to get these jobs, but what I do want to do is get in their databases. That's what I want, so that those who actually are effectively using their data, which you'd be surprised how many of them don't, actually will surface me as a result later on down the line. And again, stimulate conversations. Then there's sniper to win the right ones, tight message, targeted proof, tiny next step. Understand who you're actually targeting with those. I see arguments all the time. Well, should you be a broad spectrum with your resume and all that? Put it out everywhere, everything. Or don't waste your time on that. Go for those 10. Drill into those 10 companies you really want to be in. It's like, well, all right, well, if those 10 companies, it takes 10 years for them to get around to your position. Do it all. It's not an either or. Think of yourself as a product. Think about how other products are marketed out there. Do that. Um, Operate weekly sprints if you know anything about agile. Have a hypothesis, I can't talk. One small cast, measure, keep or kill, iterate. Watch two dials, time to your first response, hours one day if you matter, next step rate. In sales, typical good salesperson will close 2 out of 10. If you're closing 3 out of 10, you're a phenomenal salesperson. Like I said, I doubled the revenue on the Good Life magazine in under 2 years. That's because I did things that others weren't doing, part of which was understanding that instead of trying to close the same thousands and thousands of customers over and over, dialing for numbers, I went out and looked for new customers because I saw that 80% of the business for the magazine actually came from new customers. Hello, why should I keep going after the same ones if the ones who are actually generating revenue for the magazine are the new ones? How many new contacts are they? Yeah, new ones are painful. You have to go out and cold call, if you want to call it that, or preferably warm call. But you have to go out and do it. Nobody likes doing it, but you do it anyway because if you're still, yeah, it's comfortable to talk to Joe, who you've talked to 50 times about a position. Joe goes, yeah, I don't have anything. Move on. Go after the new ones out there, new conversations all the time. Do things like this. Get out there. Um, have an agent mindset. Agents don't ask for jobs, they place talent. If you're not worth it to them, they're moving on. Speak the buyer's words, show proof, ask for time next steps. Keep your pipeline clean. Understand what your pipeline is. When I say pipeline, that's your funnel. That's your sales funnel. You got a bunch of stuff coming in and you only got a few coming out at the end. If you got a few coming out at the end, make sure, darn sure that they're golden. And those are your embers that you want to blow on. When those things come out, blow on them hard. See if you can get them to catch fire. And a lot of them won't. But all you need is one. Be respectful, useful, brief, mercenary about focus. Movement is the metric, not action, but movement. You know, um, so play it like a pro. Help the market, even when it's not your shot. Reciprocity is a real pipeline. If someone you know is a better fit, share them with a recruiter. I've connected up lots of people with lots of recruiters and vice versa, recruiters with talent, saying, hey, by the way, yeah, I'm a wrong fit for this. I don't know automation and this, but hey, I know this person over here and they're looking. Hello, how many people are in this group right now? I don't know how many people are listening to me chatter right now, but say it's 35, 40. How many of those have you tried to help get into positions or vice versa? If you can't sell yourself, help sell somebody else. Um, you know, you make two people successful that way. That goodwill boomerangs. When you're unsure you fit, don't shut it down. Say where you may not fit. State your lane and then listen. What are it's important sometimes to ask, what are you seeing that makes me a fit? Capture their words. That's market intel about your value. I know at least more than one instance I've gone into when I was selling advertising. Again, I'll go back to that particular situation. I walked into places going, I'm not their right product. There's no way, but I'm going to go in here anyway. And darned if I wasn't surprised, and they all of a sudden had some other aspect to their business that I had no clue about, and I got a sale out of it. So, sometimes, yeah, don't waste your time, but sometimes open your ears up and you might learn some things about yourself that you had no clue that you have the value in and can provide value in that. It's like, wow, okay, all right, this person just did me a huge favor. They just pointed out some things about myself that I didn't even miss because I was too close to the problem. So, you know, after a no offer, don't ghost, pivot, ask, who did you hire and why? If they won't answer, well, move on. But the 2 out of 10 or whatever the answer, you're going to learn something. What have made me the obvious yes? Look sideways. Who's your competitors? Who are their competitors? Who are adjacent teams, similar problems? Look around. Think like a salesperson. If you're not selling, you're not eating. Always be closing. Hunt adjacent moves. Target startups, turnarounds, underperformers. How many people here are studying the ones we're seeing millions and millions of dollars right now in uh, founder startups and things like that? They're hiring. They're hiring. Are you applying to these companies that are filling new ranks, new positions, new kinds of roles? Who are they? Where are they? Are they remote? Do you want a remote? Are you contract? What's wrong with that? I work contract. I've worked contract for 10 years. We're working in an industry now where the idea of having the same job for several years, et cetera, is probably pretty well fading away. And if it doesn't, my money's on the fact that AI and robotics is going to shift all that over the next decade. So you gotta be aware of that. Where can you learn fast? Build context and add fresh proof. Again, fresh proof. This position I took up in New York. I'm adding New York onto my list of multiple states that I've worked with in state government, and I'm adding another major procurement on there. So that's huge. That's what got me this position. They're looking for expertise in certain areas. I know where I bring value, at least to a certain extent. Build something small, form a pod, ship a pilot, service, micro agency, create evidence you can forward next week. Send that out. Let people know, keep them updated. Go upstream, ask for coffee with a CEO, GM. Don't ask for a job. Ask, if you were me, where would you point this skill, in the next 6 to 12 months? Who should I talk to? Which problem is underserved right now? People open up when you ask them to teach, not hire. I went and had coffee. I'll go back to the Good Life magazine. I went and had coffee with Rebecca, and we sat there for 2 hours because I'd had my own magazine for 10 years. I understood her situation. She created that position for me. That's not the first time I've had a position created. And then how did I reward her? I doubled her revenue on that magazine because I knew what I was doing. So go out, have coffee. What have you got to lose? Even if you don't have coffee, if you're working virtual. I mean, we work in a wonderful lifetime right now where just like this, we're actually able to be virtual with each other, thousands of miles apart. That's amazing. Our ancestors didn't have these opportunities. We do. I can sit here and connect with you in ways that we never would have even met before. Use it, use it, use it. Um, again, like I said before, just, you know, run it like Agile. Hypothesis, small outreach, measure, keep, kill, repeat. Uh, watch movement, time to response. Um, 7-day rule. If nothing moves, change the pod or bait. Change pond or bait. Um, Speak your lane, listen hard, help others, redirect smartly, build proof, keep the top of the house conversation alive. That's how not this role becomes the next opportunity. You'd be surprised how often something that you've missed or passed on, but you've built respect, comes back and somebody reaches back out to you later that you never expected. Um, Being out of work is scary. I know this. I've been out of work myself for almost a year now. The last 2 months, I've been waiting for this project to start with New York. I had agreed to this offer 2 months ago, but we had to wait for the task order to be approved by the state, and for KPMG, who asked TQA, who had Genesis, who brought me in. We're all sitting here waiting on them, and there's a backstory on it. And we don't have time for this today, but I understand your pain. Trust me. I'm there, right there with you. But you've got to have a short memory, thick skin. Every no is a data point, not a verdict. Ask, was this the wrong people or the wrong offer? Fix one and try it again. Um, Movement over busy work. If a thread hasn't budged in 7 days, stop nursing it. Don't argue with the water. Change ponds or change bait. Experiment on purpose. Keep one control message. Test one variation at a time. If replies drop 10%, it's not your worth. It's the list or the offer. Adjust and go. Expand the surface area. Don't obsess over who moved your cheese. Find more. New teams, new angles, new intros. Keep a lifetime perspective on overcoming obstacles to stay sane during the fight. I like to remind myself, there you are. If you have a chance sometime, maybe, maybe not, is the author who wrote the book, I Learned Everything I Need to Learn in Kindergarten, talks about Gar, which is what the bullfighters, it's sort of a term they use, which means sort of like to watch 1,000 beasts or 1,000 animals run at you. Whatever age you are at this point in time, you made it this far. You will find something. How many times have you stressed out about things that never happened? Mark Twain says that he's an old man and 95% of things he's stressed and worried about never happened. So keep moving. Okay. You have to realize if you're not making progress, then you need to adjust. But it is going to happen for you, and think in terms of what's the worst thing that could happen. Keep that in mind. That gives you courage to keep going. So it's just important to realize you've made it this far in life. Um, be respectful, useful, brief, and move on. Thick skin isn't hardness, it's speed. The win goes to those who recover fastest. Um, so let's see, how are we doing on time, Kathy?
You're good. You've got at least 10 minutes left and longer if
Okay.
you need it.
All right, I just want to check. I can some of this I can talk on for trying to be as quick and brief as I can and provide as much value as possible in the time we have because again it was important in the idle training when I was getting my idle advanced certifications. I was there with several other professionals, all who were out of work. In Austin, I've sometimes said it's hard to find a position in project management unless you've been writing code for 30 years and you started when you were in diapers. So many of those people in that room were in their 50s or more, had a lifetime of wisdom and couldn't get hired. So what did I do? I relocated. That was one I gave up after a while and did a different tactic. I did a Hail Mary and it worked. I could have ended up out on the street, but I took a chance. The point is that, it's important to me that you find work that is meaningful to you. That's why I came up with Fulfills Me. One of the other founders, he was living out of his truck. Now he works for Dell, leading uh, advancements and refinements with AI. He's in his 60s, etc. I mean, there's this mindset of ageism, even though they say there isn't, but there is. So, first of all, realize it's not you, or at least in most cases. I've known a few people that I wouldn't want to work with, but for the most part, it's not you, but it's understanding where your value sits and that you will overcome this. So, I really truly want everybody here to be able to, because I know the financial ruin that it creates in lives, just like my own has happened multiple times. If I can do anything with the work I'm doing with my startup, as well as in addition to my normal work I'm doing, that would mean a lot to me in this lifetime to just fix some of this mess, to help more people be able to have fulfilling lives and organizations to have the economic value of having the right opportunities and the right talent. So I have a personal mission with this. All right, so let's move on here. Visibility wins. But aim for authority and friendship. Authority earns respect. Friend earns access. Be the trusted voice in a noisy feed. Calm when helpful. Provocative when useful. Don't just post. Engage and convert. Daily footprint. 15 to 30 touches, 10 to 15 micro comments on LinkedIn, one insight, one actionable tip, tiny metric if you have it, 3 to 5 signal comments, share an opening, tag the team, or spotlight a job seeker, clear, fit. I'm regularly putting notices out. I see somebody looking for a job. I'll share it with my 3,000 and some odd followers and go, hey, I don't know if anybody needs this, but I'm sharing this for visibility. I hope somebody else does too. Same thing about jobs. If I see a job that I think maybe some people in my particular network might fit, I'll post it out there and say, hey, something you might like to know about. I don't know if it is or not, but I'm sharing it. I don't know why more people don't do this. We have such a broken system anyway. It's like pass the word along, share with each other. And it also, guess what? Keeps your visibility out there because they're sharing it. And it keeps you visible and gets people looking at you as well as them. It's a win-win. Um, Reshares with context, 2 to 3 bullets, what matters, why now, one next step. Um, five DMs that convert public comments into value. Want a one-page teardown? Sample here. I've sent one pages instead of resumes to a lot of people out there, particularly some of the more higher level professionals, things like that. Oh, by the way, just a quick idea of my value. If they want a resume, sure, but I give them a quick pitch that they can look at in a few seconds and they can see why it matters. One value post, 150, 200 words in your lane. Teach one thing, one real number, one real artifact, one spotlight on someone else's win or an open role. Hey, somebody gets a new job, congratulate them. And that it earns their appreciation, and it also again increases your visibility. Pond awareness, post the market you serve and why it values you now. Biweekly anchors, deep pieces, 600 900 words. You'll see several articles if you look out on my LinkedIn profile. Guess what? These are all showing up. I don't know how many times I appear in searches throughout a week, hundreds of times, based on the articles that I've put out there on different topics. And guess what? A lot of those are written by AI. Now, granted, I took them and I didn't just like an idiot post them out there the way they were. I would iterate for a little bit on them, but if I actually wrote these, it would have taken me days. Instead, it takes me, up to an hour. It'll create the artwork, all of this, and guess what? You've just created more visibility. You're expanding your footprint. Case studies, teardowns that shows judgment. Again, you want to prove your judgment, not the AI's, your judgment, but use the AI as a tool to make that happen in the same way you would use Excel to use a pivot table. You can build these things yourself, or you can let the tools do it for you, but you got to look at the numbers. Do they make sense? Industry presentation, things like this, meetup, webinar, podcasts, post a reply. I learned about this organization and this presentation opportunity through a colleague of mine who I'd met several years ago. He reached out to me and said, by the way, you might like to do a presentation here. Okay, cool. He knew about the work I was doing with Fulfills Me and saw this as a win-win. And I'm hoping that I hope there's some benefit, some little thing that I've shared today that maybe helps somebody here. But it also helps me because now you understand more about what we're doing, or you will by the time this completes. Um, so all of these things, you know, comments, share templates, expert tips, opening shares, ping me for an intro, talent shares, Excel's at, converted to direct messages, happy to send a one page. AI is a tool. It's not you. Use AI to surface topics, which it does. Ask it, what are 20 topics that are key topics in my industry, in my expertise, in where I'm targeting? Again, think like the fish, not like yourself. You might be a programmer, but are you going to be hired by a program? If you are, that's great. There are instances. Are you going to be hired by somebody who's the head of a program in a certain area? They're not concerned about how you write program. They're concerned about what they're keeping awake at night, thinking about what matters to them, not necessarily what matters to you. So get those lists from AI and then go back to AI and say, okay, let's do an article on this one. Let's do an article on this one. No, this one's off track, but what about this? Use it to brainstorm, generate, and put things out there and realize this is only part of your process of making things happen. And that visibility is so important. So it's not a silver bullet, it's not a one or thing, it's lots of things. Speak the pond's current outcomes: fewer tickets, faster delivery, cleaner launch. Tag niche communities, newsletters, offer 10 to 15-minute lightning talks, keep a living list of recruiters, managers, feed them great candidates and openings. Metrics, visibility, comments a day, posts per week, presentations per month. Engagement, reply rate, direct message response, time, saves, shares, conversion. How many of these things are you sending out 100 and only hearing back from one? Change, do something different. Conversion, did you actually talk to somebody in a meaningful way? All of this, intros, look at the conversion rates on them. The same thing you would do if you were running an ad. If a channel underperforms for 7 days, change the pond, change the bait, move on. Guardrails, no spam. Please, we're all inundated with too much garbage already. Every touch adds value. Tip, metric, artifact, intro. Don't spam. Keep receipts. Linkable proof beats adjectives. When I'm talking about receipts, I'm talking about outcomes. Linkable proofs beats adjectives, things like that. Be generous. Amplify openings and talents. Reciprocity compounds. Be everywhere your pond is, useful, verifiable, human, and make the next step tiny. And when I say be everywhere, I mean be everywhere that that 20% is. Not trying to boil the ocean, trying to boil the 20%. Boil that 20% so they know you matter and you are what they're looking for and you have their attention. Give people a home base, then make it easy to say yes. Stand up your home base, a simple site. I don't know if anybody's tried to use Lovable. I created this with Lovable for my domain out there. If you go out to davidjfulton.com, you're going to see my website out there. And that image, matter of fact, I had it take a picture of mine. It actually looks better than I do. But I thought, well, what the heck? I was felt a little guilty at first. I said, well, if the celebrities can airbrush themselves, why can't I? So that's an AI airbrush of me. What I wanted was a compelling image that says, hey, I'm I'm the solution you're looking for. So, but also in doing that, and also getting your domain, you might find like with davidjfulton.com, it was $20 or something a year, very modest amount to have a domain, and then you'll have to have hosting and all of that. It gets into it, but you'll learn something in the process of all this. So creating a place for yourself and then learning from it. Hey, guess what? You just learned a whole new aspect. Um, Pin LinkedIn featured, 3 proof bullets, short promise in their words, outcome they want, 1 workable sample link, case, deck, demo, alignable, authority plus friend, join 1 niche room, start 1 practical thread week, invite a 10-minute idea swap with anyone who engages, keep signals warm, tiny resume edits on job boards, tight LinkedIn profile, simple company page, open to work occasionally to pulse the network. And what I mean by that is if you go on LinkedIn and it says open to work, hashtag open to work, if you turn that off and then you turn it back on, it's actually going to create another um, post out there that you're open to work. Change the wording on what it's saying because it'll pre-populate it. You don't have to, but I like to. And it'll send out that message to your whole network. Every time I do that, I have hundreds of people that notice it. How many times have you driven by a billboard and not seen it? And then all of a sudden one day you see it when it's relevant to you or it matters, or maybe you were just looking in the right direction. So just because you did something once doesn't mean that you're one and done. Keep it out there. You might be surprised that 5th time you sent something out, all of a sudden the person who should have seen it the first time, matter of fact, like the position that I've just hired up into New York, the first time I submitted to it, they posted the wrong requirements to the recruiters. They were actually looking for people who were write proposals for RFPs. They spent months bringing in the wrong people, looking for the wrong people before they realized, hey, wait a minute, we need somebody who can write RFPs and develop these for state governments, et cetera. Then all of a sudden, they came back to me with it. So again, don't assume that they know what they're doing either. Stay out there and stay in front of them. There are positions that I have and will be reaching back out to, even though I have this position. I'll get back to that in a little bit. But staying out there. Um, you know, Tiny resume edits on job boards. A lot of you may or may not know that on Indeed and jobs, various boards, if you haven't made an update to your resume or something like that in a period of time, you go in the old bin, not active bin. Okay, recruiters are actually informed in their marketing and things like that that these people have made recent edits to their resume and things. That way, that's how they surface activity and interest because we have old obsolete systems. So if you haven't updated even a change a word or something in your resume recently out there on Indeed and some of these, do it because, and I can't tell you how every one of them works because I don't have that internal track, but it only takes you a minute to occasionally go out there, change something, and then you'll notice, see if you start getting a lot more calls and you go, that was an interesting factor in this. So now you're being seen by more people again. Keep these things moving. If they think you've faded away, they've got millions of resumes. They got to do something to keep the ones who are actually looking active out there. Let's see.
You have a bunch of questions.
Okay.
How many more slides do you have with
Um,
extensive notes?
let me go through here real quick, and I'll just Um, let me, so AI for personal branding isn't visibility. It's learn, ship, show. This is some of what I was talking about a little bit ago. Spin up simple site, a one pager. Operate like a consultant between roles. Look for opportunities to volunteer, startup pilots. Look for people like me, founders, things like that. Maybe you can get equity in a company and or be part of a startup. Would you have been nice to have been a startup with Amazon or some of those? But you also get opportunities to build and grow and learn new things. A lot of times you wear multiple hats. Um, all of these things are part of this. Use AI to speed up the work you do anyway. Cite case studies, tiny demos. Keep your car log, which is challenge action result. Look for pilots. Look for new things you can try. Um, Stay in motion. Let me pop over here. Um, so some stay in motion, adapt or go extinct. Sometimes the next door isn't on your floor. Detours, small downshifts, short moves, leverage. Like I said, I jumped over to Maine from Texas and got picked up in the behavioral health over there as a project manager, leading an $8 million opioid crisis response. Objects in motion, steer. If you stop, if anybody's ever heard of objects in motion have a tendency to stay in motion, you can't maneuver if you're standing still. Momentum has got to be more important than pride. Field detours, build missing skills, temporary downshifts, geographic flexibility, all of these things. If the water's quiet for a week, change the pond or change the bait. Don't be the dinosaur. Move, adapt, compound momentum. You know, I'll share this idea real quick. Interviews that were offers are one. I, I don't like winging it. I've actually gone into interviews, even though I've had positions, just to keep myself flexible and skilled in interviewing, because that's such a critical piece and something that we do so little of. Keep a small practice circle, 4 to 6 people. So sit on both sides of the table. As somebody who's interviewed other candidates like that, you learn a lot by watching how other people interview and what you're looking for. It's huge. Do quick 10-minute rounds, 2 interviews, one candidate, one observer, 2 real questions. Answer directly, then bridge to a short win story with a number, eye contact. When questions collide, look for all these things. And then review it like athletes. Record, watch the tape, notice fillers, time answers, sharpen the outcome line. You know, get used to closing. Always be closing. ABC. If this is the outcome you want, a quick walkthrough of my 80-day plan could help. Interested? Swapping roles every 10 minutes teaches fast. Again, working together as part of this team, doing mock interviews and things like that. There's reasons attorneys do mock trials. Okay, you don't want to wait till showtime. There's a reason athletes do training with different things constantly, because you don't want to make it up when you get there. An hour of this improves more than a month of solo prep. On game day, it feels familiar, not fragile. You want to walk in there and own that interview. And one of the most important things an interviewer, a recruiter told me one time, he said, your job in an interview is to move from your side of the table to the other side of the table. And what he meant by that was understanding what that recruiter is looking for. If you walk out of that interview and they're seeing you as part of their hiring team, you've succeeded, because at that point in time, they're seeing you as part of who and what they are. You understand, they want you on their side of the table. So that's huge. You're not interviewee at that point in time. You've moved. So anyway, and then in closing here, I'll just say, when you get hired, and you will, that maintenance is so important. That's not the finish line. I mean, yeah, a lot of us think, but maintaining your high ability, some of the things I talked about earlier, proof, presence, pipeline, keeping your cars, your challenge access to, keeping these things, noting where you've produced results, your all of these things, your competencies, all of these things that keep these things active, even while you're hired, while you're working in your position. And maybe because I'm a contract person, I think in terms of this. If you see red flags, get your line in the water. I got caught on this one. Normally, I wouldn't have had to be unemployed for several months, but I got caught by a project that fell through. It happens. Life happens. But the important thing is keep that maintenance. And again, I fell back to all the studies I've put into over these last several years of learning this industry and this market to help me be more effective. Lord only knows if I would have landed this up in New York if I hadn't, or where. So, it's important to keep yourself relevant. Finally, I'm going to just tell you this real quick. This is where Fulfills Me comes in, and we're working on, there's actually two aspects. Fulfill Me is actually dealing with role clarity for hiring and organizations, but there's another component of this that we're referring to as talent MLS or multiple listing service. So think of it as Zillow for people. That's what talent multiple listing service or MLS is. My career is structured, verified, privacy safe listing that can be found for lots of roles, not just one title. So like in Indeed, you've got one resume. LinkedIn, you have one profile. What this is actually going to do, it turns my messy resume into a standardized listing, industry, function, responsibility, skills, the outcomes I actually shipped because it's structured. It surfaces all the roles I fit, including multiple personas, as in there are multiple variations on who and what we are. As I said before, we're ingredients. This actually will take that and reprocess these into the best results, not resumes, but actually produce results just like it would with selling a house. Um, I'm not one job. I'm a few personas. Actually, I'd say more than a few. And I mentioned some of these for myself earlier. So Talent MLS is going to map your proof to each persona automatically, so it's discoverable in several lanes. I can also toggle which personas are active and keep the rest warm on my terms. One of the other things too is that as we get the role processing part of this, ultimately this is going to connect up behind the scenes in a way that we've completely changed the entire paradigm of how job listings and hiring, all this is happening. This is a completely different approach to it. So, this, and also it's going to be predicting, system will publish an anonymous profile. In so many ways, this is above and beyond what's out there right now. So I urge you, even though we are a young startup, because we have to build this talent base. Obviously, there's millions and millions of resumes out there and all these other things. What we're looking for are talent and people who want to be part of this, and that over the next several years will be changing the whole shift on this. So I just want you to be aware of this. If you're interested in being in our listings, reach out to me. You'll have my email here. We're not tied to keywords and titles and things like that. We're going to be focusing on adjacent personas, vectors, multiple personas, things like this. We're using AI in ways that are not being used. We're not just matching and searching like OpenAI is trying to compete with LinkedIn. No, we've changed the whole thing. Talent MLS is going to give you leverage. It's going to give you a clear story, multiple active personas, real privacy, higher signal opportunities without extra worker costs. You'll be findable, forwardable, provable, and it's going to be on your terms instead of on theirs. So anyway, with that, I'll just leave it there and go to Q&A, and there's my contact
Okay.
information if anybody'd like it.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody like it. By the way, we usually ask our speakers to send, if they're willing to share their slides,
Sure.
and Shannon puts the slides in the next newsletter.
Uh-huh.
Are you willing to share your slides with the notes?
Yeah, I was going to say it won't be a lot of help without the notes, but yeah, I'd be happy to. Or actually,
That'd
what I'll
be
do
very
is I'll.
kind. If you can send them to Shannon, that would be great. So the first question that came on was movement is the metric, and then not action, but movement. And so this person asked, what is the difference between movement and action?
Absolutely. The difference is between pushing a rock and building a house. Okay. I could stand here forever pushing on a rock, but did that rock ever move? Just because you're taking action doesn't mean you're actually getting results. Did the rock move? Have you accomplished anything? I remember when I'll go back to, I learned so much in sales. I really feel like some people should, they've never spent time in sales. They should, even if they're a lousy salesperson or see themselves as a lousy salesperson. But, at the end of the day, sometimes when you feel like you haven't accomplished anything, I remember Rebecca would sometimes say, well, did you move the ball forward? Sometimes all you do is move a football, and I keep coming back to a sports analogy, even though I'm not that much into sports, but if you move the ball 1 foot, You have movement. If you threw everything you had at the line and the ball didn't move, all you did was take action and it didn't produce any result from it. So you better change up your tactic because you didn't have movement. All you had was action.
Okay, then there was, David, what does a breakdown of a day or a week of job searching slash prospecting look like for you personally? There's a lot we can do. Learn AI skills, media kit development, LinkedIn engagement, applications, and I'm curious as to how you structure your efforts to be the best mercenary focused fisherman against your competition. That's a lot in that question, and you have a lot in your explanation. So if you can tell us what's a typical day.
Yeah, there is no typical day. For me, all right. First of all, understand your value. If you do nothing else, sit down, look at your resume, look at your LinkedIn profile, look at these things, and ask yourself, is this telling me what my competencies are? What did I accomplish? Or is this just saying one of my favorite things is great communicator? Okay, so a great communicator can be somebody who gives speeches, it can be somebody who's good with working with teams. It's definable in terms of a great communicator can be somebody who can write an effective request for proposal, or a good communicator can be somebody who can respond with a proposal. There's technical writers. There's all kinds of. So if you have in your resume great communicator, take that and look at it and say, for my market, for my customer, and put yourself into their shoes. They are the home buyer. You have the house to sell. If you say, my house has floors, have you really done them justice or yourself? If you say, my house has 100-year-old gorgeous wood floors that are just stunning, and we're here when George Washington walked on them, and you would be amazed when you start to build a story around it. So understand your story. What matters? Your challenge, your action, your result, what you produce from in this instance, and go through everything. Sit there in a chair, stare at the ceiling for a while, think in terms of this, and then start to work this, and then put it into AI and work this until you look and go, wow, I'd hire me. Would you hire you? Based on what you're marketing. And then with that, start to make sure that all of your collateral out there, if you've got resumes out there, if you've got LinkedIn, if you've got Alignable, of all these, and figure out where your market is and be reaching out to them. Then also going out into looking at what jobs are available and where you are and stuff. So much it quite literally, I cannot answer that question in the short amount of time we hear, but I hope that some of what I've covered today will at least throw you some breadcrumbs. And if you want to ask me some of these things, you've got my email and stuff. You can always reach out to me. I might be setting myself up for something big here, but if you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out. I'll do my best to respond.
Um, the next question was, how do you recommend identifying recruiters at companies you're interested in? And she says, because I thought that was a no-no to contact a recruiter directly. Um, one of the things we teach in our, excuse me, LinkedIn class is how to find the recruiters, but it's sometimes difficult to find the recruiter that's in charge of
Mhm.
that job that you're wanting. How do you do that?
You're probably not going to get in front of them right away anyway, for the most part, and they're going to be actually working with the hiring manager, who they probably don't even know exactly what the hiring manager is wanting. And a lot of times the hiring manager doesn't know what they want either. They just want a problem solved. So you've got to put on your detective hat. Okay, don't think in terms of one silver bullet solutions. You know, do you want that company that bad? If you want that particular company that bad, you shouldn't just be reaching out to the recruiter and stuff like that. What you want to do is create a perfect storm that makes you undeniable to them so that they're aware of you, and they know who and what you are. Reach out to people who are doing this. Find out, ask questions. If there's nothing wrong with saying, I'm just trying to study how the hiring process works. I'm not looking to get necessarily hired. I'd just like to understand more about it. See if the recruiters will talk to you about that, and don't use this as a clever worker employee. Oh, by the way, hire me. No, we're not idiots, So get out there and just like a salesperson, put on your sales hat. I used to be able to tell you when I was selling advertising, it would take 3 months typically. Now, there are times I'd walk in, I'd close with a full page ad. When I'd walk in and walk out in under an hour, thousands of dollars sale, great. Home run, fantastic stuff. Okay. Most of my ads took 3 months and were quarter pages, but I knew that going into them. And I would learn how to navigate every conversation. And trust me, there were thousands. Every conversation I learned something from. You are going to look like an idiot sometimes. Pick the companies that you don't want to get hired by first. Experiment. Experiment. Contact that company that's selling surfboards. You don't care. What you want to do is see what works and what doesn't work. Start figuring out what is your best strategy, what it does work within these contexts of these situations. Use these as experiments. Don't see them as, oh my God, I must get in with Amazon or whatever as a such and such. Okay, fine. You want to get in there? Start off with other companies and learn from them. Talk, learn.
This question was, how do you direct yourself at the employer's specific need above the fold, but then not tailor your resume to each job description specifically?
Depends. Again, this is not an either or kind of a situation. So again, you'll hear me, and I've said this before, what I call spray and pray. And then there's also the sniper method of it. So some of these, I do this even now sometimes. I'll be laying in bed and I can't go to sleep for a little while. I'll sit there and find positions out there that are on quick I can't remember what they call them, LinkedIn's quick response and things like that, but they're
Yeah.
a good fit for me. And I'll send a resume over. Bap. I'll have one that's a little bit more generic, but it's generic within the constraints of what that field and that industry is. If you're not familiar with categories and industries and sectors and lines of business and all that, become so that you can tailor the introduction part of your resume and those things at the top so that they actually resonate with them. But then there are also times when it's something a little more sniper, and I'll have the AI I'll copy and paste my intro into it, and I'll say, okay, I need to incorporate these aspects into here. And it'll do that. And I'll go through, I'll read it and check it, review it. I'll make a few tweaks. I'll have it make a few tweaks. And a few minutes later, I've got a sniper one that I send out to them, but I do that selectively, 80/20. I'm not going to do that with the 80% of the ones out there. I might be sending stuff into that 80%, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. It's going to be seconds on those, and I'm not expecting a high return. When you do postcards, you expect a 0.5% to 2% response on postcards. How many of those do you throw away that you get in your mailbox? But there's that one that you see that you are in the right position for, and they get a sale out of it. It's a different marketing strategies. These are all strategies and tactics. Don't expect a single approach to work. Use them all, but use all the ones that are effective for what you're doing. Does that help, I hope?
I think it does. I think this was great, and it is interesting. Sales is not easy,
No.
and it's just a heck of a lot of work. And you're right, a lot of work with um, a, a small percentage of successes, but those it could be that's all you need.
Yep.
Uh,
One hit.
and so I really loved the thing about I mean, we encourage people to form little SWAT teams, search with a
Mhm.
team, but having this group of people that practice interviewing
Uh-huh.
and constant feedback and the timing of your answers and the reviews and all that stuff.
Learning from each
Yeah,
other, learning from
all
each
of
other.
that is very, very helpful. Very, very helpful. Really good advice. So thank you. I want to thank you so
Absolutely.
much for your time and your slides. You have a technique that we have never seen before with with this stream of consciousness bullet things supporting every single slide, and it's like money in the bank. Uh, it's being
Well,
inside your brain, and you have it's like an ADHD of a person with 190 point IQ. With just
You're awful kind. Thank you.
words, but there's so much information and usable advice in there. This was great.
Well, thank
So
you.
I
I'm
hope,
good.
the
Hopefully it helps
recording
some.
took.
Hopefully it helps some. I wish everybody much success, and no, you will find results. It will happen, but you've got to believe that. Keep believing it. Don't, as they put on the Roman bullet a long time ago, don't let the bastards get you down. You know,
That's
you've
right.
got to keep moving, and you will. Keep ducking and dodging. I've done karate for 30 years. Don't walk into the ring with something in your mind. Walk into the ring with your mind open and let it happen. It's going to happen for you, I guarantee.
Yeah, this was great. This was great advice. Thank
All
you
right.
so much and have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you. All there too. Take care. Bye bye.
All right. Bye-bye.